Here we go.
Hey everybody, Carolina Autos here, Eric Sill. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I came to own a Veloster N and kind of the cars that I've had over the last 2 years and why I chose what I chose and ultimately led me to this. Also, for a little bit of S's and G's, I've got my my Mountain Dog camera on my gauges as usual, but I've got the G meter on instead of the normal turbo and torque gauge. So you guys can keep an eye on that. We're going to be on the highway most of this trip, so can't pull a whole lot of G's, but we're going on a rally tonight all the way up to Philadelphia from Charlotte, North Carolina, and we will be returning tomorrow, so that should be an interesting drive through Virginia and everything. But anyway, back on topic. I thought some of you guys had asked in some of my older videos, some of the comments were, you know, what made you choose the Veloster and why'd you get rid of your old red Veloster, and, you know, why'd you choose the N model? So a little bit of what led me up to all this. So let's start from the top. And what I'll do in the video is I will actually put pictures of the cars that I've had over the last 2 years, which is 4, by the way. So it all starts about 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5 years ago. I'll have to look up the exact dates. I had a Chevrolet HHR. Ridiculous car, but I kind of like them. They're a little bit unique and cool, and you know, that'll kind of be the theme of this video. Is I like unique cars, or quirky cars, I guess you could say. So I had a Chevrolet HHR. It started having some trouble. I got something into the interior, and whatever got into the interior of that car, I was allergic to it. I think because I used to put my motorcycle cover in the back of the hatch on the HHR, and I think something was on the bike cover, some kind of pollen or something, and I just got all in the car. I couldn't clean it out, and it would make me nauseous almost every time I drove the car, so, you know, I had to get rid of it. Had it steam cleaned and everything for the next owner. They drove it. They said, well, whatever's in here doesn't bother us, so sold the car and was looking for something new. Actually had borrowed a friend of mine's car in the interim. It's just a little Toyota Corolla, and I saw that there was a really great deal on a Kia Forte SX. So the Kia Forte SX is the 1.6 liter turbo GDI motor, the same motor that's in the normal Veloster Turbo. It was only available in automatic, but they had them marked down. I think the MSRP on them was like $22,000 or something, and they had been on the lot for like 2 years. There's 2 of them, a blue one and a silver one, and I went and drove both. The silver one had a sunroof, and I didn't fit. So I'm 6'4". You guys know I'm tall. The sunroof cut into my headroom too much, and I was unable to fit in the car. So I got the hardtop one without the sunroof, and that happened to be the blue one. But when I bought it, I had noticed that something about the steering didn't feel quite right. And this seems to be kind of a thing with Hyundai Kia, is their steering feel sometimes is just weird. And this car had adaptive steering, so it would, you know, weight differently, just like my N does. But it was completely artificial. At least the N, it does give you a little bit more feel and feedback. Coming into some traffic here. It does give you a little bit more feel and feedback through the wheel in the heavier steering modes. Sorry, I'm just checking on traffic. But this car, it had a really weird on-center feel, and it was so weird that you almost couldn't drive the car in a straight line, if that makes sense. The car, it was like it did not want to be in the middle. The wheel had a notch in it almost, and my theory is that it was the steering bearings, because the car had sat on the lot for so long, and they probably didn't, you know, really take care of it and move it around as often as they probably should have. So I think it sat there and just wore, one of the wheel bearings actually wore a kind of an impression into the bearing sleeve. You see this happen with motorcycles and head bearings a lot, especially if they sit, and there'll be a little bit of a notch in the steering, and that's exactly what it felt like. And it just happened to be like at top dead center of the steering wheel. So unfortunately, I pretty quickly got rid of that car. Tried to get the dealer to buy it back for me. They refused. You know, they're under no obligation to do so, of course. It's my problem after that. But then I got to notice, since I got such a good deal, I think I paid $15,000. You know, so that was $7 grand off of MSRP for effectively a new car. It was sold to me as a new car. So I went on Carvana, and you guys have probably all seen my Carvana video where I bought my Gen 1 Veloster Turbo. So I get on Carvana, I get to poking around, I find, because I liked the motor in the Kia, and I liked the way it drove, apart from the steering issue, of course. But it was automatic, and I found a manual Veloster Turbo on Carvana for $15,600, I believe it was. So I saw the Veloster Turbo on Carvana and liked the engine in the Kia enough that I was like, okay, I want the same engine, but I want it with a manual transmission. And to my surprise, so I kind of was a little bit weary of Carvana. You know, they're kind of new on the used car scene, and they sell a lot of auction cars, and you know, but that's every used car game. Unless you go to a Ford dealership and buy a used certified Ford, like you never, you know, you really got to look through the car history to know what you're buying, and take the car to a mechanic and everything, which I did with the Carvana car. But I get on there and I punch in the trade value for the Kia, and they were going to give me, so I paid $15,500 or so, maybe 15 even, for the Kia Forte SX. And Carvana, 6 months later, was offering me $14,700 trade on the Kia. So obviously that's exactly what I did. I was like, I want to get out of this car. Hopefully somebody was able to fix the steering issue. You know, Carvana, I told them about it when I dropped it off. They didn't seem to think it was a big deal, and I think I'm a little bit more sensitive to steering issues than most people are. So I get the Gen 1 Veloster Turbo from Carvana. Loved the car. You know, I really had a lot of fun with my Gen 1 Veloster. I was actually a little bit sad even when I traded in, even though I was upgrading to a Veloster N. I had that car for about a year and went everywhere in it. I mean, it wasn't the base model turbo. It had the heated seats and all kinds of stuff. You guys can go look at videos and kind of my review on that car. And I was going to get around to modifying it, and about the time that I had decided I would either pull the trigger on modifying it or buy something faster, which is generally what I tend to do. I'm not big on modifying cars. You know, like a light tune and an intake and exhaust, that's one thing, but like really getting into the motor and, you know, changing around compression ratios and stuff, I really hesitate to do stuff like that, especially since I tend to buy newer cars that are still under factory warranty. You know, it's just, it saves me a little bit of risk, and that's, you know, some people are fine to take risks. I'm a little bit less inclined to take a big financial risk than some people would, I'd say. So about the time that I had, you know, had decided I'm gonna get rid of this Veloster and buy what I really have kind of always wanted, to be honest with you guys, is a 2016 or newer Super Sport Camaro. I think the chassis on those cars is great. The engine is great. That LT1 is fantastic. But I didn't quite have the money to buy a new SS. I could have maybe gotten a used one, but I'd been getting one with, you know, kind of higher miles on it, around the $30,000 mark. And that's not really what I wanted to do at the time. I wanted a newer car. So about the time that all this is going on, I see the Straight Pipes video about, you know, they somehow got a hold of a pre-release. It actually had covering all over the car. They got a hold of a pre-release Veloster N, and I was like, man, that thing, you know, even though it's under covers, it sounds fantastic. Albert Bierman is doing the work on it, so, you know, he's the guy who did the last generation of M cars for BMW. And I kind of figured that they were going to knock it out of the park. You know, when they're like, it's a manual only, it's a 2-liter turbo, we're going to put a limited slip, adaptive dampers. I was like, okay, so somebody is taking this car somewhat seriously. It sounds awesome. It just, you know, it's kind of a ridiculous thing to drive. And like I said, I like unique and or weird cars. Really like my Gen 1 Veloster. And I've slowly, you know, we kind of figure out how much this thing's going to cost and all, and I was like, you know what, I'm in. I decided I was in. I had went and looked at a Honda Civic Type R, and which I've mentioned in a few of my other videos. Really liked the Type R, but every dealership around Charlotte was marking them up to like $40,000. They're not worth $40,000. If you paid $40,000 more for your Type R, you know, I'm glad you have the money to pay for something like that, but I definitely do not and was not willing to pay that much over MSRP. And even the Veloster, the first shipments of Veloster N, so I got one of the first cars on the first shipments to deliver to the US. And my car was red, so all of the blue ones sold pretty much immediately, and everybody paid over sticker on them. The red ones, I'm not sure why, because I think the red is the prettier car. I just like red cars with black accents. That's just personal preference. So I went down and bought this one in Columbia, South Carolina, and I paid sticker. I paid, maybe, I might have given the dealer $500. They were wanting like $2,000 over sticker. I told him to pound sand. I'm trading in a certifiable used Gen 1 Veloster, and you guys are gonna, I think they gave me $13,000 on trade-in on that. So they probably turned that car around and made a healthy little bit on it, because the car was in perfect shape. So yeah, basically I told him, I was like, no guys, you don't, I would rather not, I'd rather just wait than pay anybody over sticker for a Veloster N, because we know these things are going to take a pretty hard depreciation hit. So I ended up financing about $28,000 on this car. Let's see, this was 7 months ago now. Already paid it down to $24,000 or so. And I will be looking to upgrade at some point. I don't know when or what. I think when I either am going to be looking for a C6 Z06 Corvette, or like I mentioned, a 2016 to 2018 Camaro Super Sport. But yeah, so that is kind of my journey over the last 2 years, going from a Chevrolet HHR to a Veloster N. And you know, I highly recommend, if you want to go out, you know, you guys can go watch some of my videos. If you like tearing up back roads, this is the car to buy right now, 100%. If you're looking for a new car, you know, if you're looking for a used car, you might be able to look for like a used Type R, for example, or a used Camaro. Even with the V6, if you get the 1LE package, you're going to tear up a back road. But if you want a brand new car that's a little bit rambunctious, a little bit silly, a little bit unique, go out and buy a Veloster N. You won't be disappointed. They're not insanely fast in a straight line, but they are insanely fast on a back road. I will maintain that this is one of the best sorted chassis for a front-wheel drive car that I've ever driven barring the Type R. The Type R does have a little bit better of a chassis, but it is not worth $10,000 more than this car. It's definitely not. So yeah, so that's my journey, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, hit subscribe if you want to, keep getting some Veloster content, or keep up when I go to buy something new. I will continue keeping the cameras rolling. Thanks for watching, guys.